Hey, what's up, y'all? It's Will with Schedule Fly, and I'm excited today. I've actually got two folks on the phone, Brandi and Adam Cabot, who are with Cantina 76, and they're with the first location in Columbia on Divine Street. Was started in 2009, and this group has done really, really well. The guys that started it had this one, and they've grown it to 5 locations now around South Carolina, and one of the owners, Rob Ward, if you've read our second restaurant owners on Court book, he was in there. He's been on the podcast. Great dude, and I asked him who in his organization might be interested in talking about hospitality and who that love what they do and are great at what they do, and he said Brandi and Adam. So Brandi and Adam, thank y'all for taking the time to do this.
Absolutely.
Yeah, thank you for having us.
So okay, so then, well, now Brandi, you just told me before we started recording you've been there since day one. So actually, tell me a little bit about just your background in hospitality and how you got dialed in with these guys at Cantina 76, and then I'd like to do the same with you, Adam, and how long, a little bit of history about how long you've been there as well.
Sure.
Okay, cool. That's actually a really good question because I started serving when I was 16 years old, and I was lucky enough to work with our current executive chef, David Grillo, before Cantina existed. So we were working together at more of a fine dining restaurant. It was called Mark's, and he approached me one day, and he was like, I've met these guys. They've got a really cool concept. I've told them about you. Would you be willing to come with me and open this restaurant? So I was super excited about it. I was at USC at the time in college. And in 2009, at 19 years old, I met Rob Ward, the owner, and we sat down and started talking about his concept, and I helped him lay out, training manuals and just basic setup for schedules and things like that. And that's how, it all started. Basically, I followed the chef and was lucky enough to get in with this business early on.
Okay, cool. So you were there from day one, and because you must have. Y'all must have helped a lot because those guys didn't have a lot of restaurant experience when they first opened up, right? I mean, he told
Yeah,
me a little bit about that.
very funny. The first time I ever met Rob, I think he sat me down and he was like, all right, so tell me your strengths and weaknesses. And he kind of laughed and he was like, I'm just kidding. I really just need help. And I was like, okay, got this.
That's cool. What is it about the concept that got you and the executive, like, why were y'all excited about it?
At the time in Columbia, there was just nothing like that. Since then, that's kind of changed and we have more competition. But I mean, I had never been to a restaurant like it. The concept is tacos and kind of fusion. And there was just nothing around at the time that was similar. Everything was more traditional. So I think that's what made it so different. And, Dave is an awesome chef and he came up with this great menu, and I already believed in him, obviously, because I worked with him and we were so close. So, it was just really cool to see it all come together like that, and excited for people in Columbia to have something different to try out.
Oh yeah, for sure, for sure. Well, Adam, how about you? How'd you get out into this scene?
Well, much like Brandy, I actually had a personal tie to David Grillo, who is our executive chef here at Cantina. Um, Years and years ago, he was a kitchen manager in a TGI Fridays that I worked at. And I had a lot of experience and time spent in the corporate restaurant setting, such as Fridays. Unfortunately, the location that I was working at here in Columbia was a franchise, and the owners decided it wasn't for them anymore. So the business closed down, and through remembering some influential people in my restaurant career, I immediately reached out to David Grillo and asked him if he had any openings, if you will, because I knew that he was venturing into Cantina 76, and it was the next up and coming thing. I started here as a line cook for him, actually, and worked on the line here in the kitchen for about a year. And when I graduated Carolina, I had a hospitality degree, and it's kind of always what I wanted to do. Rob actually had a young lady lined up to manage alongside her that graduated hospitality with me. And she took a position, I believe in Charlotte, working for, I want to say, a Hilton, which, thankfully enough for me, opened up that spot. And so I took it trying to hit the ground running, and me and Brandi have been working as a dynamic duo ever since.
Right.
Yeah.
Long time.
Yeah.
So you were in school there too, Brandi, at the time. Were you in the hospitality program too, or something different?
Not. I was actually a visual communications major, so I did a lot of graphic design and photography, which actually has come into handy around here. I designed our catering menu, taking pictures for the website and things like that. So.
Okay, gotcha. So 2009, you guys get going, and not a lot of competition in the area, at least for the concept. How has that changed since then?
Oh, it's changed a lot.
Absolutely. I think people definitely wanted to ride this wave, but little do they know they don't have the one key factor, and that's executive chef David Grillo. He is making the best of the best around here, and I don't know if you're aware of this, but in my not short anymore, I've been here going on 6 years, but in my time here, we've consecutively won our Free Times Best of Columbia awards, from anything to best taco to best margarita,
best happy hour,
best place to have a first date,
patio,
yeah,
bang for your buck.
So and I contribute a lot of that to, like Brandi was saying earlier, to just the awesome food experience people can have here that's unlike any other. So going back to your original question with the competition, we've had a lot of people trying to ride this Cantina wave, if you will, and
similar concepts.
Very similar concepts, mm-hmm. But there's something about the way we create the culture in our staff here, and the way we maintain a very relaxed atmosphere while still giving top-notch service. People really can't recreate that. So they try to do the taco and the margarita bar theme, but the Cantina family, a lot like people like Brandi that have been here since day one, have really played a big part in creating this awesome culture that is Cantina. We've actually tried our best to not necessarily be that corporate monster as we grow, and we try to remember, where this all started from and what made us successful. So now with Cantina being 5 stores big, obviously there are some things that we are trying to make a little bit more uniform, and with the company getting bigger, but we also got to remember that our atmosphere and our staff are definitely key players.
And what made us all successful.
Yeah, absolutely.
To start with.
Yeah, that's a tricky balance, it seems to me, to maintain that level of personal service, authenticity, laid back style, which is so attractive, and what brings so many people to places like yours. But as you grow, it seems like things start pulling growing businesses like that in the direction of having a more corporate mindset for the sake of efficiency, cost savings, or whatever the case may be, to scale things up. How do y'all, it sounds like there's no real specific thing other than you guys are just very aware of it and probably talk about that often, I would guess, as you grow, to kind of keep the right balance. Is that right?
Right, for sure. I think what helps is, Adam and I have been here so long, and we've had a hand in training every store that's opened so far. So if we can instill in them what we've learned, since 2009, then it kind of helps them create the same atmosphere in their new stores. So they always hang out with us for a few weeks, and then we help them out when they open, and it just goes from there.
One of the things we really pride ourselves in is, the want to, gain an opportunity to work here. A lot of people apply here on a daily basis, and we've definitely come to realize it's a very highly sought after, restaurant to work for. And to Brandi's point, we have had a hand in all the store's trainings. So we've been able to put our personal touch in every group since, we started here. And that's definitely something that we want to maintain. But going back to the balance thing, like you were saying, there's definitely a balance in giving, top-notch service and making sure your guests are 100% satisfied every time they leave. And also being able to maintain an atmosphere that people, desire to work at and work in. We love to think that we have a culture here that creates long-term friendships, sometimes even, love interest relationships and roommates and things like that. But yeah, it's definitely hard to balance staying away from, the big corporate, monster type of scenario, mindset, and still trying to stay true to our roots, which is that, knowing where we started from and knowing what made us successful in the first place.
Yeah, because I would guess that the further you would ever get away from those roots, the more that you're kind of like everybody else, right? Like it becomes easier to replicate if you have more of a corporate mindset, which is which then becomes that kind of strips out some of the things that make you guys so special. So that's cool that you guys are so aware of that, and you've been able to do that in 5 locations is really awesome. And then for those listening, I mean these locations are not, they're spread around. I mean there's what you're in you're 2 in there in Columbia, and then you're in Greenville and Kiowa and Charleston. So you're really spread around the state. So do you guys? I mean, you must have a lot of autonomy. You've got 4 owners, but I would imagine you all have a good amount of autonomy, and they've placed a lot of trust in you all, because they certainly can't be. I mean, they can't. Even if they were all spread around, I would imagine they're not around all these locations all the time. So you must be able to, as you go to each new location, give a lot of autonomy to the team they're running it.
Right, and they actually do a really great job. Trying to get at every location throughout the week. They're always traveling and sorting out problems and making things uniform between the stores. And not only that, but, we have a group chat with all of the general managers and managers at all of the locations. So we're always communicating, and the owners are in there too. And it's just constant communication. Same page. So.
Gotcha. What if you? I mean, so here's 4 guys that weren't, really dialed into the restaurant scene prior, but they figured out a really good formula. What have y'all learned from those 4 owners since you've been there?
Oh, I've learned so much, so much. Well, when I first started, Rob was obviously my manager, and Chad was here a lot too, managing. And sometimes I ask myself when I'm managing, what would Rob do in that situation?
Okay. So he had really good instincts for the business, even not having had
great business instincts. Yeah, just great business instincts, a people person, a great manager in general for not having, that type of experience. There was a lot to learn. He's very quick with the business side, and he can explain things really well.
You can always list out managers you've had, since your early jobs in your life, and you can always identify which ones were motivating and inspiring and which ones you probably could care less for. And Rob was always that very fair guy. He wasn't afraid to show you that he had a heart. He's got a sweet side. But, to Brandy's point, he's a damn fine businessman. Excuse my language.
Yeah.
And he's taught us a lot of life lessons along the way as well. So, Rob's kind of been more of the supervisor, mentor for us out of the owner partners, because this was the location that he was primarily at. As they grew, they kind of split up a little bit of the area they supervised. But now, not only restaurants or lessons in the restaurant and in the business, but in life as well. And he's definitely become a number 1 mentor in my book, Mr. Rob Ward. You hear that, Rob?
That's awesome. Well, it's always, I mean, look, that's a huge part of this, clearly. The success of any business, particularly in the hospitality space, is having an owner who leads by example, who you admire, who you trust, who has faith in you, who trusts you. It's a 2-way street for sure. But that formula is, at least from all the folks I've interviewed over the years, that seems to be a common thread. So are you now? You've got these 5, but you've gone into cities where I would imagine I mean, maybe there was no competition, in Columbia at the time. Now there is, but then some of these other cities you've gone in, there must be similar concepts, I would guess. But I guess it goes back to what you're talking about earlier, the menu and the culture. That's really what it boils down to, right? So even if there's other places, I would imagine that have a cantina theme in Mount Pleasant or Kiowa or whatever, you guys feel like that culture and that menu are something that's hard to compete with.
Right. There are a lot of similar restaurants, but the cool thing about the Columbia original location is we've been lucky enough to be in this college town. So all of these college kids, are coming to Cantina and they love it. And after college, they move and they get jobs and they go to other places. So we've seen their excitement, when they move to another city and it's like Cantina is coming there. You know, that has been a huge help.
Absolutely. With Columbia being such a big and busy, if you will, city, Cantina's, gained such a great name for itself that people that don't necessarily live in Columbia have a very high chance of either experiencing it firsthand or at least haven't heard the name. So to Brandy's point, you open up in these places like Greenville and Charleston and Mount Pleasant and stuff, even though they might not necessarily live in Columbia, they definitely know, what Cantina is about and already have like some kind of built-in excitement about coming to their city. So that's always been definitely a huge advantage for us is the name that we've built here in Columbia as we grow. So.
Well, I was folks that are listening. I was talking to Brandy about this before we started recording, but I do have this is a case in point here. I have a step-brother-in-law who graduated from University of South Carolina a year and a half ago, and I was on a family vacation this summer, and he and his girlfriend, who both went to South Carolina, they live in Charlotte now, and they were telling me how much they miss Cantina 76, how they knew that Cantina was a customer. They're like, look, you please tell them to open in Charlotte. Like, we really miss them a lot. It's a big gap here in Charlotte for us. Like, they were like, really, I mean, they were serious. They were like, like there's nothing else like it here. And just if you'll let them know that, like, if they come here, all of our friends, that went there will be frequent customers. And there are. I mean, there's a lot of people that graduate from there that wind up here. So that's an interesting. I've never really thought about that, but that's a great formula to, if you're successful in a college town like that, figure out where do the graduates all wind up. And that's really cool. That's neat that y'all been able to take that out to outer lying areas and have that support. But it's not surprising though, because you clearly have got huge support amongst the student body there at that Devine Street location.
Absolutely. The University of South Carolina has been a great gift to our location here. I don't want to brag or anything, but we're like the highest volume store out of all the Cantina stores. So
there you go.
We're doing some real good work over here, and we can attribute most of that to, like Brandy said, we're in a college town, and it's a really good scene. So I'm sorry, our phones are. Let me turn this down here. Really good scene. So going back to the atmosphere, kids that are from little cities or small towns or even different states that come to the University of South Carolina, they tend to catch on quickly that this is a spot that they can frequent and not only get great food or, if they're old enough, some great margaritas, but in a super chill, relaxing atmosphere that's, right around the corner from where they're walking around going to the classes at. So we're not too close. So, we're right on here at Devine Street, just about a mile or 2 miles outside of
in
campus.
the middle of some great neighborhoods as well.
Yeah.
We also consider ourselves a family restaurant.
Yeah, absolutely. We got a great clientele base over here. A lot of young professionals, a lot of families, starter families, college students, the whole nine. So we're very blessed to have the volume that we have, and we don't want to brag about it, but the college town is definitely helping that volume.
What do y'all? That's awesome. What do y'all look for when you're looking for people to come work in your group? And you've got, as you said, a highly sought after place to work. So, what's the difference maker? Like, if people are listening to this and they're wanting to get into the hospitality business, that are young, that are trying to learn, like, what kind of things are you looking for in people that you interview and that you bring onto your team?
Well, one of the bigger issues that we face more frequently, I believe, I would say, is availability.
Right.
So being that we are a restaurant in this industry, obviously there's long hours. We're open on holidays. You got to work weekends. It can be flexible, but it's not ideal for somebody with a tight schedule.
Yeah.
Some good availability is definitely up there on the list. We love talking to people when they come in and applying, just to get a good feel for how they communicate with people and how they present themselves, because we also keep in consideration that these people will be representing Cantina. And then we just look at their past work experiences, see what their strengths are, see what their weaknesses may be, and where we can utilize them. So we actually don't like to ever get in a bind to where we're, necessarily rapid firing, trying to find new people, or, we're short staffed. We like to just talk to everybody, meet everybody, give everybody opportunities. And that's what really creates a good working schedule for some of these staff members, is the flexibility that it allows on the back end. So, yeah, availability, previous work experience is great. We love to train people, and we love to, take people with green thumbs in the industry and, give them all the knowledge that we've soaked up over the years. And that's not an issue whatsoever. But availability is what kills us most of the time.
Hey, that's where schedule fly comes in.
And yeah,
right.
fly is a godsend for that.
It is.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's tough. That's a hard part of it. And it seems like availability more and more is. I mean, a lot of folks these days are, they have higher expectations of what they want their availability to be, and when they want to work, when they don't want to work, and that must be tough for you guys to manage. But I guess when you find good people, then you're able to, you're able to keep them with such a good culture.
Absolutely.
Right. And it's amazing, like we always talk about our turnover rate and how low it is, and people come here and they make friends, and they stay throughout college, just like I did, and then I stuck around afterwards too. But they make friends, and they hang out outside of work, and it's just a family atmosphere whenever we're at work as well, which makes the work environment.
It's always bittersweet for me and Brandi to see our kids, as we like to call them, go, because we've now. Well, Brandy's been here obviously since day one. I've been here a little under 6 years, but we've been here long enough to see people start here as, freshmen and green to Columbia, and really watch them grow and grow into nice, fine young adults. And then it's kind of bittersweet, when they have to leave us, because to Brandy's point, it's like a family member, moving away or something. So
that's cool that you guys have got a culture where it feels that way for everybody. Because that's not always the case in the hospitality business. So
no,
it's
right.
Yeah, y'all have done a really good job. That's very clear. Tell me this: how about your one thing I hear a lot about these days is restaurant teams talking about how to broaden the relationship they have with their regular customers, how to get more regulars, how to keep those regulars coming back and giving them a special experience. Is that something you guys are dialed into?
Oh, we love our regulars. We have many, many regulars. We have a program that does our wait at the hostess stand. So when we go on a wait, and we enter their name and their phone number and how many are in their party, and our application actually tells us how many times they've been there. Been on the wait, at least, if we are on the wait. And it's funny that you asked. We were just laughing about putting someone's phone number in the wait the other day, and it was their 65th time at Cantina 76. So
65th?
Yes, 65th. And this particular family that I'm talking about, has actually grown close to a lot of the servers here. Shout out to the Hicks family.
Yeah.
So, they get to know these employees, and it's almost like, these regular customers, gain a relationship with them and care about them. So it's exciting to see them again too. And I think, your employees are what make those regulars come back. Of course, the great food and atmosphere and drinks are, a huge factor in that. But then your additional factor is that relationship with those people. And
Oh,
what makes
absolutely.
them want to come back.
Yeah, one thing we got to keep in mind is, these people, we refer to them as regulars, but they can spend their money anywhere they want, and they choose to frequent our facility. So that means a lot, because not only is that saying, we're doing very well as far as food or drinks or whatever they come for. But to Brandy's point too, we start making relationships for them, and then they come because they're part of the family.
Yep. Yeah, and such a big part of that is your staff. I mean, that's that extra piece there that really helps build that relationship is the staff members themselves, the people that serve them or serve them drinks or serve them food and get to know them, and they're that's such a huge part of that relationship, I guess, is that staff and that team that you've built, which is something that becomes very special to those customers. And yeah, I bet they miss staff members a lot when they leave.
Oh, they do. They
Yeah.
do. It's funny. They'll come in, for their last night working.
Yeah.
We've seen that happen before.
With gifts in hand and everything.
I tell y'all, I mean, that's keeping a core team like that, and really being able to keep that team together for a long period of time. It's such a hard thing in your business because of turnover, but it really is so important. My mom and I go to this place here in Charlotte every Tuesday for breakfast, and lately the staff has had a lot of turnover. So these are staff that have been there a long time, and we got to know them fairly well, and they know what we like, and so on and so forth. And I tell you, the experience is just, it's not. We even said the other day we may have to find somewhere else to go, because all of a sudden it's like all these new staff, and you kind of wonder why, and then what's going on, and customers really recognize that, particularly the regular ones. We kind of have had, like, the last couple of times, this is a place we love. The experience has just been not nearly as good, so we want to be patient and give them time. But then again, you kind of say, well, is there an underlying problem here or whatever? So I think customers, they really pay attention to that, don't they?
Yeah, they pick up on it for sure. We've had, regulars comment to us, is so-and-so here tonight, or they ask about them frequently. So I can definitely see where you're coming from with that. And it's cool to hear your side of things too. It's also kind of terrifying. We got to keep these people around, Adam.
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, you do.
Yep.
I mean, we are. We go every week, right? So every Tuesday morning we go and we eat breakfast at this place. So we are a true regular, but those customers, the ones that, that's kind of like your foundation, isn't it? It's like the people that come frequently. I mean, you're always, especially in a college town, you're going to get a new slice of, new customers every year, and you're going to lose one group and get a new one in or whatever. But those ones that are coming all the time, like, the more of those you have, the bigger foundation you build, and they really, they're the ones paying attention to all that stuff. So y'all have done clearly a great job of keeping those people around, and it's just made a difference. That's why your volume's so high and everything else. But it's something to, not an easy thing to do in your business, though. I know.
Right.
Well, let me ask you this on that note. What is the most challenging part? You've got a great restaurant there. You've both been there a long time. You have a long tenure there. You've had a lot of success. You're growing. You're high volume. But what is the hardest thing about it?
Coming up with new ways to spice things up. So I think that's our biggest challenge, because a lot of times Adam and I feel like we're on autopilot. This place honestly runs itself. We kind of joke, like, if we feel like we don't have anything to do sometimes.
Right, so you do podcast calls.
Well,
you can even do a podcast call, right?
Right.
So all you managers out there listening to this podcast, you get your staff up to the grade A level, you'll have time for these phone. Yeah.
Yeah, but I think it's just coming up with new ideas and new ways to spice things up, anywhere from drink specials to food specials to contests that we can run with our servers and staff, and just ways to bring in more sales, of course. You always want to see that number go up year to year. And, I think that's the most challenging part for sure.
Yeah.
Any management position.
Yeah, like to Brandy's point, spicing things up, not only for ourselves, but for our guests as well. Whether it be creating a seasonal drink feature or things we're doing now. We're introducing new lines to our available beer and doing specials on them for daily specials throughout the week, and just kind of spicing up and making a little change. So Cantina's always got a great pull, and they're definitely doing the right thing. But that's definitely a challenge for Brandi and I, is to keep the boat going, if you will. We don't ever want to get stagnant or lose people's interest in us or what have you. But definitely a challenge.
Yeah, for sure. Good challenge to have, though, guys. I mean, that's a testament to how well you've run the business when your biggest challenge is just trying to keep things interesting and spiced up, like you said.
Right.
That's
I was gonna say another challenge for us is just finding ways to grow in general. And I've been here a little under 6 years, and every year of my management time here, we've always thought, well, there's no way we can grow next year. We're at our max capacity. Yeah, thinking that we've hit that plateau, and
we never do.
5-6 years later, we're still growing. So we're figuring out ways to keep that growth and keep people interested in us, and trying to make sure that we also stay ahead of the curve when it comes to competition in the area and things like that.
Well, competition is good. It really keeps you on your toes, doesn't it?
Absolutely.
It does.
Yeah, for sure. Well, this is awesome, y'all. I really appreciate the time that you both took to do this. I know that you have it running itself, sort of, but I know that you probably have a lot going on in the back of your mind right now that you probably want to tend to. So
yeah, just a few things.
Yeah, and I know you're both very busy. It's a busy gig. So hey, listen, thank you very much, both of you. I really appreciate it, Adam and Brandi. Appreciate the time, and everybody that listens will appreciate all that they learned. And thank you very much for the business, and just thank you all for being awesome. And just try to come up to Charlotte, man. You got a bunch of people up here that are excited for you to be here.
Hey, send me to Charlotte. I'll see you there.
All right. Sounds good.
Well, thank you so much for having us. If y'all see the Cantina coming soon sign in Charlotte, y'all stop in and ask for Adam or Brandi, because we'll definitely be there. But in the meantime, if you're ever in Columbia and come by Cantina 76, we'd love to have you. Well, thank you so much for having us, buddy.
All right. Bye, y'all. Take care.
Bye.